Even the Pentagon can't explain this.
As of 2024, you actually have to fulfill certain rules in order for your picture to be eligible for Best Picture. Level of black, LGBTQ, or female representation on screen. Stories that
this is about the Pentagon.
Or, I guess, death. Well, really, this is something in the on screen. Or a certain number.
Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation.
David Chica Flemington says he's been seeing hovering orbs of light.
I can't describe it because I've never seen it before, so people think you're crazy. And it just sat there, and all of a sudden it just, like, you literally blink and it's gone.
And he was hoping to see National Grid working on some lines, and that is when he saw flashing red, blue, and white lights coming from the sky. This is some of the video that he sent us that you're seeing here. He said it spooked him, although Scott Kibbe did not realize what it was at first. He says the drone was moving in all sorts of directions. Both sheriffs for Albany County and Saratoga County say they've received numerous phone calls from residents about this as well.
I really was kind of not sure what I was doing and seeing, so I was even more skeptical. That's why I wanted to get video. I was very surprised. It was there for a lengthy period of time. I'd say that it was in that space for at least 45 minutes.
These three lights that were in a sort of a triangle kind of formation, an odd looking thing, and I'm thinking that doesn't look like a plane. It started flying erratically.
Witnesses at first thinking it was aircraft heading to nearby Camp Pendleton.
You could hear them, and you couldn't hear this thing.
Angel says he's uneasy after seeing 5 zip over his head toward the Pacific Ocean.
You know, it's just kind of scary to think, like, who's watching, and the fact that we contacted the sheriffs, the Murrieta PD commented on a post of mine. Nobody knows whose they are.
After a burst of drone activity lighting up the night skies above several states, including New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and Ohio, too, now. Just the other night, over the weekend, we had one in Dayton above Wright-Patt Air Force Base, believe it or not.
Officials have not confirmed if these sightings are linked to those that recently happened near the East Coast.
It is why isn't anybody talking? The regulations are clear. You don't fly in restricted airspace. I mean, there's not a drone operator out there that is that dumb.
Questions about mysterious drone sightings are continuing to grow across the country. Now they're getting closer to home.
Naval Weapons Station Earl in Middletown also confirmed several new sightings in the last 24 hours.
Oh, it freaks me out. It freaks me out, yes.
Back in October, the Pentagon confirmed unidentified drones flew over Langley Air Force Base here in Hampton. Today, the House Homeland Security Committee says they want answers.
Unidentified drones were spotted over a U.S. airbase in Germany and sensitive industrial sites, including arms makers and chemical plants. That's according to the Spiegel News magazine, citing a confidential report by German security authorities. The report flagged numerous drone sightings made in the evening hours of December 3rd and 4th over the airbase. It's unclear who was flying the drones.
McDonald says geo-tracking on drones makes it extremely difficult to fly them in restricted airspace without being caught. He says the drones shouldn't even be able to start near the Air Force Base.
Those airspaces are tightly controlled, and people get arrested for accidentally getting too close to one. So to have these things flying everywhere in the numbers that they are, somebody knows about it.
It's just like this ominous presence, which is not a comfortable feeling.
Rebecca Landerman from Palm Beach County tells me she believes she saw these drones while driving on the Florida Turnpike north of Port St. Lucie.
Give us any kind of answer and it's less scary, but you just don't know why it's there.
And right before it got to the stoplight, it turned off this way.
Alex Rodriguez Torres drives us along Port St. Lucie Boulevard to where he believes, this drone.
When it shifted and I could see the outline of the whole shape, which was circular, I was like, I can't believe this is a drone in our town like the one in New Jersey, in this little Port St. Lucie, you know?
Did it freak you out at all?
A little bit. I mean, it's strange to see that.
But he's not the only one. Viewers from the Treasure Coast of Palm Beach County have been sending us video and pictures of what they believe are drones after weeks of sightings all along the East Coast.
Not a plane. That is a drone.
It's just like this ominous presence.
The controller can be heard describing the situation as it unfolded Friday night.
And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see.
A Wright-Pat spokesman confirmed the sightings to WLWT, saying small unmanned aerial systems were spotted in the vicinity of and over Wright-Patterson Friday night into Saturday morning, closing the airspace for several hours.
All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson-class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
The sightings, similar to the ones spotted on the East Coast.
That's crazy. That's something else. This world come changing by the day.
It's just kind of scary because I only live 2 minutes away from here, and I live close to the base. So it's like if it's something fishy, they need to go on, get away from the base, because
The way John has been reacting to things, I know they know. The question becomes, why aren't they telling us what they know? And this is where there's a mystery. These things are flying, obviously, with lights on. They're following FAA rules mostly. So it's either one of two things. It's either a secret U.S. project. That's why Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas said nothing to worry about.
When the sun goes down, the drones come out, sometimes flying solo, but at other times flying in groups that look like organized formations. New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer says he's fed up with the lack of explanation.
I think if these things are foreign, you shut down. If they're ours, you say, hey, we're doing an experiment. I actually was on air the other day, and one of my colleagues asked me, it's like, well, could it be a secret experiment? It's like, we do secret experiments all the time, Sam. That's why they're secret. Nobody observes them. So, you know, it's kind of an awkward situation. So at this point, it's a mystery. Look, I think it'll be cleared up by next week at some point. Somebody's got to tell the truth about what's going on.
The plot has thickened even more.
Yeah, so many questions following the sightings. The FBI and the White House still say they don't know the origin. They also say they don't have any evidence that the drones pose any sort of... Still, though, Wright-Patterson is asking people in this area if they see anything suspicious, including drones, to report it to either security forces or the local police department.
Look, the fact that they're out there saying there's no evidence means that they have no knowledge. They don't know what this is. And yes, of course, some of these wind up being manned flight, but not 5,000. And what's really tragic or frustrating to us in Congress is that the FBI has known about this since the beginning of November, and we're getting informed, just like with the Chinese spy balloon, after the public sees it and raises concern. And that's really unacceptable. We're a co-equal branch of government. The Constitution's pretty clear, and they should have been communicating with us a lot sooner. And it's worse than just here in the U.S. I mean, we've had it happen over Ramstein Air Base in Germany. The DOD has the authority to shut these things down. Northcom has the authority to shut them down. And nothing yet has happened. And you can't find out what these things are until you get one in your hands. You got to get it, hack it, and download the data. That's the only way to discover it. DHS and DOJ and DOD have the authorities. They just haven't acted.
Just want to pull this up as well. Here are some New Jersey residents and what they said to the New York Times. I think it's like an invasion. I feel like our privacy is kind of invaded. Or the kids are all asking, what's going on? Why do we have to close all our blinds? What's real and what isn't? Personally, I'm exhausted. So I think that's a really good point what you said. No evidence doesn't mean no knowledge. But is there some way that the government can reassure people so that they don't have their kids worried, especially if it's just an airplane?
Well, we know for a fact it's not DOD. I mean, if they were flying test drones or some agency of the federal government, they would own it. They'd say, yeah, we didn't alert people and sorry about that. And that would put an end to this. We know that's not the case. And we know all of them are not manned aircraft, because if that were the case, they would say so. So yeah, no evidence that it's X, Y, or Z, foreign or criminal. That means they don't know.
Like wheel within a wheel. Like something like right out of the Bible. Look at these. This is over New Jersey. Does that look like some sort of any kind of a drone that you've ever seen before? Well, the problem is we don't know because no one's telling us. And even in front of Congress, they're not. So that even looks like biblical drawings, like a wheel within a wheel, like Ezekiel, right? I mean, you have drawings like this going back thousands.
You are in Tennessee, so you're in a different area where we haven't heard as much about this. Tell us about your sighting.
Yeah, mine's different than your all's. Mine's a lot different. Mine don't look like what you're showing there at all. These things are round. The ones that I saw were round. And they've got this ring around them. and around the ring, it's got little lights on it, and the light is spinning. And on the video that I sent you guys, you can see that at first before I zoom in on it, because when I zoom in, it gets all blurry, and it looks like it's changing shapes, but it really isn't. But if you look really closely, you'll see how there's a thing spinning around it. And so I don't know mine didn't look like a plane at all. And I saw like 30 of them all together. Yeah, that thing right there was the first one. I believe that was the first one. And when it scooches in, you can sort of see that? You can sort of see there's something spinning around it.
Yep.
But it's hooked to it. It's like a ring.
It's so
on
hard at night to video these things. I mean, that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like no matter, it looks so distinctive in person. And then you look at the video, even with our new iPhones, it's just, you can't really capture it. But are you sure it wasn't a plane, Scott? Because sometimes it's hard to tell.
Positive. I think all three of your guests tonight, we're all professional observers. And that's one of the things that we check out. What does it sound like? What does it look like? What is it doing? What does it sound like? And that had no sound at all. And there were, at one point, there were 5 when I after I saw this one, and there were 3 up in the by themselves, and there were 2 ahead of it that came past those. And then as they went on, the other 3 started following that one. Then they split up, and then I got video of where there's one there in different sections of the front yard and the backyard. You could see them through the trees, but these were completely different than what you guys were seeing. These are completely different.
You know, when things like this are happening, it seems everyone starts to look up, like my crew and I have been here in Mendham recording this video that you're looking at right now. We have no idea what it is, if it's a natural phenomenon, because it could be, but this is why so many municipalities are now asking people to reach out and send their videos to them or to experts who might be able to sort out what they're seeing in the skies. But I guarantee there are so many people looking up and making those recordings because this mystery is one that needs to be solved. For now, we're live here in Mendham Borough. Tony Yates, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Lee's saying he's wondering whether or not that might be the moon, Tony, but you pointed out it's exactly the question people are asking. What is it?
No. Yeah, no, we're looking at the moon right now, and that's nowhere near the moon.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the moon.
They didn't make a sound. It was, a couple hundred feet above us. You just didn't know what you were looking at. It was moving across the sky very quietly, and we kept saying to each other, like Nick and I, like, what are we looking at? Like, are you getting the shot, and what the heck are we filming? There's a couple shots you can see where you can see that it's fixed wing, and it doesn't look like a plane. It almost looks like inverted. It sounds crazy as I say this now, Brian, like that's what you're seeing on the screen. That's what we were seeing right above our heads. And it happened till about 11:30 at night. And then it started to like die off. And I was like, we can stay out here all night. But I went to bed. This is my community. I've never seen these things in the sky over my community before. I went to bed thinking like, this is wild. These things are flying over our homes, over our residences. There's a military Earl, which is a munitions depot just like about a mile and a half behind me. They've reported sightings of these things above, and they said they're ready to take action if they need to. This is for naysayers out there, like, this is real.
So how many did you see at once, Rich? Was it just the one, or?
Well, no, I think we would see a couple at a time in various parts of the sky over this water. And we'd be like, oh, we didn't get this shot on that one. And they'd be like, well, wait, we'll just wait. I'm sure there'll be another one. And sure enough, like, one started creeping towards us. And it's like, it felt like I was in a bad sci-fi movie, like that it was just, that I was placed in, but it involved my actual hometown. It was very, very surreal.
I mean, to hear you saying this, again, it just sort of hits me in a different way coming from you. Wow.
The buzz is very big in the desert Southwest, where it's really never gone away after some weird happenings in the skies over Phoenix recently. And here is NBC's Robert Hager.
This is one of several home videos recorded that night last March. A few say they saw the lights as far as 100 miles north of Phoenix. Many more saw them over the city or to the south.
It was the evening of March 13th, 1997. People across Arizona, especially here in the valley, reported seeing a silent, miles-long V-shaped group of lights gliding quietly overhead. Was it a military mission, a prank perhaps, or visitors from outer space? The questions and confusion over the sighting have only grown during the prevailing years.
Some, like Tim and Bobby Lee, claim they saw even more.
Something was there. It was a structure. It was going 35 miles an hour. It was huge. It didn't make a sound. And you tell me what can do that.
It was flying low. It was within half a mile of me. There's no plane path at that point, and it didn't act like a plane. A plane can't turn that fast. And it also had oddly spiral kinds of movements that you just don't see with a plane.
And so it was
and
last
there was no
night.
noise. Again, no noise. Yeah,
No
exactly.
noise. Rich, you were out on the story last night, didn't know what to expect, and take it from there. I mean, what happened?
Off the top, I've been skeptical of this story. As a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist here, I thought it was going to be some sort of yahoos, and we would get a laugh out of this in several weeks. What happened yesterday completely changed my entire view on this story. Earlier in the afternoon, I was out with the Ocean City Sheriff's Department. They have a drone unit. They've investigated these things. They've saw a bunch over the weekend. We did not see any with them last night. I was coming back home. I got a tip. Monmouth County, they're spotting them in Monmouth County. That's where I live. So I raced up here and I tried to figure out where the picture was that somebody sent me. And sure enough, I saw one. So I trailed it to a neighborhood, a dead-end street, and I got out of my car and I took my phone out with my iPhone, and I couldn't really capture it, but I was staring literally at this drone 200 feet above me maybe. I called our photographer, Nick, and I said, get up here as soon as you possibly can, meet me at this location, etc. I tracked a few more to the location where we are right now, over a body of water behind us. And I gotta say, Brian, over the next 2 hours, we saw dozens and dozens of these things, and they look like nothing you've ever seen before. I'm not even sure I'm right in calling them a drone. You know, they looked like they were fixed wing aircraft. They had multiple, blinking lights. They did not look anything like a plane, because there's plenty of planes flying overhead. Like tonight, they're not here. We're seeing just planes. Last night was totally different. They look creepy, and they move at a different pace. We tried to even follow a couple. They went off in the distance and disappeared. It's completely rewired my brain on this topic, and I'm a believer, and we need answers. And we don't have answers, and we need someone to step up and say, here is what's going on. Because otherwise, we're heading down this path in New Jersey and these states where people are just going to take this into their own hands.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your video right now. We have it in the middle of the screen. I know it's tough at night when you're using your iPhone and it's pitch black. You said you were near the water, but so it's kind of hard to see. But we've heard these reports from people, but hearing it from you, Rich, as our investigative reporter, knowing the kind of work you do, it is kind of freaky to hear you say that that you couldn't identify it. Describe it a little more. I mean, how big? And when I think of a drone, you think of it's got the four. It's almost like a little helicopter with the four rotors. Are these not? Do these look different than that?
They look different. They almost look like a U-shaped or a V-shaped. They didn't make a sound.